A good Wednesday, everybody. It is the 4th of June. Another sleepy, dusty Delta day. No, that was yesterday for the Bobby Gentry fans. I'm always going to bring music dorkery with me whenever I come in to be part of this incredible community of Hugh Hewitt fill-in folks. The only thing I enjoy about as much as filling in for Hugh when he's away is listening to the other folks filling in for Hugh while he is away. Listening to Kurt Schlichter, listening to Ed Morrissey, listening to Dwayne. You're going to get a smattering of all of us. I am your Wednesday guy today and next week, June 11th. Mark Davis, happy morning host at 6:60 a.m. The Answer here in thriving DFW. So speaking of radio, if you're listening along the Salem Radio Network or watching the spectacle here on the Salem News Channel, it is joy to have you listening and or watching. Appreciate it very, very much. Gee, what will we do? Now, what we're all going to do, we're going to welcome a bunch of guests on a bunch of things. But I want to get cracking pretty fast with you folks right now to put my thumb on the pulse of how a certain question is going right now at 1-800-520-1234. You know the number, 1-800-520-1234. Are you Team Trump or Team Elon? And even in asking that question, I want to describe it as flawed. It's kind of a bit here. I'm kind of having a little fun here, if indeed fun is a term that can be used amid this struggle. And it is now a struggle to get something resembling the big, beautiful bill. But here's, I put up a poll on Twitter, the most highly, X, whatever, the most highly anecdotal and unscientific thing you can do. But I thought, hey, it'll be interesting. So I said, Elon Musk is A, courageous truth teller, B, a disloyal troublemaker. 96-4% truth teller, courageous truth teller. Now, that might make you think, well, all these people are going to rebel against Trump. They've turned on Trump. Elon has been right all the time. Here's where it gets interesting and where I want to triangulate some things with you. And let's hop to it because we got a guest in the first segment after this. Going to spend a little time talking about Iran and the Middle East with a gentleman from the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. We'll talk about the Middle East and anti-Semitism with the great Seth Mandel in hour number 3. So I got quick questions. Once we get to the bottom of the hour and beyond that, we'll have room to sort of spread our wings a little bit and get into some more detail with you on how you think Elon's atom bomb dropped into the big, beautiful bill's progress, if indeed if that metaphor even works. Because what makes this pretty fascinating on multiple layers is if you look about, an inch deep, this is bad. We're trying to get this bill passed. We're trying to get the Trump agenda moving. Is it perfect? Not at all. Is there more good than bad? Yes. Do you not want to let the perfect be the enemy of the good? Yes, that's a useful trope. But there's the possibility that, because if you notice that Trump, as one of the interesting trolls that I saw immediately afterward was, what's the running clock on how long it'll take President Trump to say, who is this Elon? I don't even know who he is. I've never met him. Ha, 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 as you will sometimes do with people who turn on him. Has Elon really turned on Trump? Is this an act of, I've heard betrayal, I've heard traitor. There's some in the MAGA base not happy with Elon. And I'm not really either, even though he's right. Okay, now here's where it all gets started. Is Elon correct about looking at all these Doge cuts that he found? Admittedly, not as many as he said he was going to find. Wasn't exactly 2 trillion, to which I would say, we have time. We're early in the game here. We'll get there. We should get there. But as he looked at the big, beautiful bill, and he told CBS early last week, and boy, they've been running this on a continuous loop, where he said, I just don't think I like this thing very much. You can have a bill that's big or beautiful, but probably not both. I thought that was fairly clever. Then that mild annoyance turned to outright revolt yesterday during the day as Elon took to his X platform and said, I cannot remain silent any longer. This bill is an abomination. It's loaded with pork. It's terrible. And anybody who voted for it should be ashamed of themselves. Great. That's helpful. There's an old saying that says, let everything you say be truthful, but not all truths need to be spoken all the time. You ever heard that one? The way that applies here is it is very, very possible for Elon to be absolutely right in his idealism, but that's exactly what it is. It's idealism. He, like Ross Perot before him, brings in a businessman's ethos, brings in a businessman's experience and logic, a businessman's habit of calling a meeting, writing a memo. I will refer you once again, if I didn't do this 12 times last time I was here or whenever I show up, and Elon is the subject, there's a wonderful Walter Isaacson biography of Elon that interestingly goes right up to when he joins Team Trump. One wonders what Walter would have thought of that. But prior to that, his entire lifetime prior to that, Mr. Isaacson, late of Time magazine, does a pretty even-handed and fair assessment, warts and all, genius and all, of Elon Musk. And the way he looks at things, if he has a rocket explode on the pad, that's awesome. We just learned something. Let's call a meeting. Let's write 14 memos. Let's do some FaceTime. We'll have this thing back on track tomorrow. And like Ross Perot, and God bless Ross Perot, a fellow Texan of mine, who back in 1992 was talking about, let's put the hood up, let's take a look under the hood, see what's going on. I'm not even doing Ross Perot. I'm doing Dana Carvey doing Ross Perot, as did we all. Anyway, God bless Ross, and thanks for giving us Bill Clinton there, Ross, with 19% of the vote, much of which would have gone to Bush. But hey, that's ancient history. In today's history, as we are seeing it made before our eyes, the notion that government should be run like a business has a certain ring to it. In some ways, it's true. No business should spend more than it has. No household should spend more than it has. But when you say that government should be run like a business, it's an empty platitude. It's not possible. Businesses don't have Congress. Read about that in my new book, Why I Like Business. It is like herding cats. You do have two parties. Everything's a battle. Everything's a struggle. So as we boil this down, let me ask you the following and get you lined up at 1-800-520-1234, 1-800-520-1234. The premises that I offer are, and you may agree or disagree with any of these. Ready? Number one, Elon is right. His frustrations are genuine. His instincts are pure. And he along with Rand Paul, Ron Johnson, Thomas Massey in the House, and some others, their deficit hawk status, the buzzsaw that they want to bring is something that is praiseworthy. However, layer number two, it is unrealistic to expect all those Doge cuts to be in this bill. And so he's right, but it was not helpful. Your thoughts, please. 1-800-520-1234. All right, let's do a couple of calls. You got some guests coming up. Interesting stuff happening. 1-800-520-1234. We are in Los Angeles. Steve, Mark Davison for Hugh. Welcome and happy Wednesday. How are you doing?
Oh, hey, Mark. I love your substitution and your show.
Thank you.
I am, like almost everybody, in between what Ron Paul, this Massey guy, and Elon has to say. The bill is not perfect, but, you have to have support. You have to do some things so Republican Congress people in New York and California can get reelected. That's just the way it works. That's the way Washington works. Absolutely nothing is more important than two things: getting this bill passed, making it more perfect. But the biggest thing is Trump needs a House and Senate for 4 years. Okay, if he only has it until next October or the end of 2026, they will spend the entire following 2 years trying to destroy him any way they can. So I think Elon should air his dirty laundry quietly and not to the media.
So what do you think happened? First of all, I think your analysis is really sound. So what do you think happened? I mean, it's not that Elon is on anybody's leash, or that's part of the charm of being a private sector temporary government employee. Is you're Lord knows you're not up for re-election. You're not really accountable to anybody. So what do you think? What prodded Elon to go from the bill kind of bothers me to the bill deserves to be savaged along with everybody that voted for it? Oh, all right. Anyway, I'm sorry about that. Well, we'll let that be a rhetorical question as we hop to Illinois. Say hi to Anita. Hey, Anita, Mark Davis in for you. Good Wednesday to you. How you doing?
Thank you, Mark. I'm doing fine,
Hi.
but I would like to say that Elon Musk has poured his heart and soul and energy into cutting government spending, and Donald Trump has turned around and stabbed him in the back and has gone against the promises of reducing spending. We are in dire trouble with, $36 trillion deficit. And Elon has paid the price of dealerships being burnt and his cars being burnt. And I'm just upset with Donald Trump. I think he is a traitor.
All right, let me ask. First of all, you have a lot of people who agree with you. I have to ask, were you a full-throated Trump supporter, first time, second time? Have you been, Team MAGA, all on board? And do I have you pegged correctly?
All the time, Mark,
Okay.
100%. But this really upset me.
And we're going to do the guest next segment. So part of the disappointment is when you voted for Trump this time and he won, and the Doge people started doing Doge type things. You thought, and apparently Elon did too, that those Doge cuts would be right there in the big beautiful bill, and not having them there seems like a total disappointment. Correct?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay. What would be your thought? Because here's what a lot of people are going to be saying. Is that nobody ever promised them in the first bill right out of the box. We got some time here. Elon is right, but maybe he doesn't quite grasp how government works. And I know that's what everybody always says when things are moving too slow, blah, blah, blah. But can you be, because you've been throwing some pretty hot takes there about it being a betrayal and traitorous, blah, blah, blah. Is there a way that you can find in you a heart for patience that says, Elon is right, the Doge people will continue what they're doing, Trump hasn't abandoned the notion of smaller government? Is there a way to keep you on board?
I will always be on board, but I will let President Trump know about my upset. And I do think that Trump should work harder to work with Congress to cut spending, and I don't feel that he is doing that. So I don't know what the answer is. I'm all in with Rand Paul and others who are wanting to get that budget down, because we're going to pay a very heavy price if we don't wake up and deal with these problems of financing.
Anita, thank you. You have so much company in this audience. I know it. And that's why it's an interesting, I call it a triangulation, I guess. And then there's another old adage that multiple things can be true at the same time. Elon's passion for cutting government, it was a dream come true to me. To have him brought into the fold, it's like, wait a minute. I mean, Trump has already given me so many things that I've been begging for since Reagan and not really getting through either Bush presidency and Lord knows under Democrat presidents and Democrat Congresses, an actual strong border. Actual environmental sanity, gender sanity, which we're going to talk about a little bit today, all kinds of things. And then, wait a minute, we're actually going to see a reduction in the size of government? Really? Are you kidding me? Pinch me. Is this real? And I still believe that it is. I don't think that it was realistic to expect it to happen this quickly. So let me see what some of y'all are thinking about that. We are in Orlando. Hoyt, Mark Davis in for you. Good Wednesday to you. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine. I realize that Trump had 4 years while he was sort of waiting to plan out all his moves, and he hit the ground running. And Elon Musk is a genius also. I do not believe either of those two men are petty.
Oh.
They are not petty enough to get into some silly fight right now unless there is something gained for both
right.
of them or for all of us. And I think
right.
it's going
There's
to be a while
something.
before we find out.
There's
I
something
won't
mildly.
trust either one.
There's something mildly conspiratorial about this that I'm intrigued by. What do you think might be going on?
I don't know how they'll put it together. Trump's got a measured IQ of 168. I have no idea how far Elon Musk is, but he's way up there too.
No
I
doubt.
do
No
not
doubt.
think that I don't. They've been so close for so long.
Yep.
I don't believe either one of them is so petty as that they have not had a conversation somewhere, giggled about it, not had a drink.
Like hovering over a button and said, "Let's see what happens now." Hoyt, fascinating theory. Because, and listen, there were people on my morning show this morning who said, Mark, there's something going on here. First of all, Trump has not come out with a flamethrower, talked about how disappointed he is in Elon. Mike Johnson said that my friend is quite mistaken about the big, beautiful bill, et cetera, et cetera. Trump has been largely silent, unless I've missed something. I'll Google here in a moment during the break. We floated, at least momentarily, the notion, not that this was planned or orchestrated, that would be a well-meaning troll of the highest order, where they say, look, where they almost gather in a room and say, look, here's what's going to happen. Elon is going to just savage the triple B. He is going to just come out and give his big South African back of his hand to the big, beautiful bill. Everybody's going to go, oh, what's happening here? What's happening here? And that will put wind in the sails of people to join in with the Rand Pauls and the Ron Johnsons, et cetera, and make the bill better in the Senate, then give it back to the House where it's better in the House. How about that? Think about it. So the challenge in this day and age with Elon and Trump and who knows what kind of tensions going on there is to keep track of 25 other incredibly important things. So let's hop in with some people I've respected for a long time, the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, and talk about what, if anything, should be going on, is going on, and should be going on with the Iran nuclear deal. Their Iran program senior director is Behnam Bentaleblu. Sir, welcome to Hugh Hewitt Show. Nice to have you.
Great to be with you. Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So what's the status right now of this nuclear deal that is drips with so much skepticism? Can we even trust the Iranian regime? That makes it challenging enough. Where exactly does it stand right now?
Well, where it stands is no doubt the Iranians understand that President Trump does indeed want a deal. The president's been remarkably clear about this even before he entered office when he was campaigning before term one. I think the tagline then was, I buy bad deals, I make them good deals. The president was immensely successful in term one when it comes to maximum pressure against the regime. He's implemented that very successfully against them in term two. There have been 5 rounds of direct or indirect nuclear talks, depending on who you believe. And ultimately, the positions on paper publicly on the Iranian side, on the American side, remain far apart. But there is lots of leaks and reporting and stories about various U.S. proposals, various Iranian ideas that make them appear at least somewhat technically closer together based on the negotiations that they've been having in private. My great fear here is, and this is what the American people should know, that the only way you can get a deal quickly, and that depends if the Iranians or the Americans want to deal quickly, is if there is a massive collapse in the public position. And I think the art of the deal here is to get the other guy to collapse, not to have us collapse. And the latest and perhaps most breaking thing on the Iran nuclear today is that the President Trump had a phone call with Russian President Vladimir Putin where they did discuss Iran, among a few other things. And this follows a story just from a few hours ago, Iran time, where the supreme leader of Iran rejected the spirit and the zeitgeist of America's nuclear offers to the regime.
Well, exactly right. And I think that's the kind of standoff that we're going to have moving forward, is because the American demands, if you want to call it, the American suggestions, whatever you want to call them, involve Iran being able to have only so much nuclear power, enough to keep the lights on, not enough to make bombs, and also for them to allow pretty frequent and reliable, often unannounced inspections. Is there any universe in which Iran accepts that?
Well, there could be a universe in which the regime is made to accept that if they're put to the choice of not just having an economy in this, but their entire survival in this. I mean, just look at the year that Iran is exiting. The only reason that the Islamic Republic of Iran is negotiating with President Trump, who, let's be clear, is a qualitatively different U.S. president on a whole host of fronts, but on especially when it comes to Iran policy, that any other Ayatollah or Revolutionary Guardsman has known of in the past 46 years of the whole U.S.-Iran history. And that's because in term one, the president supported the Iranian people who were protesting. He had maximum pressure, even unilaterally, which was effective. And he was willing to pull the trigger against Iran's chief terrorist, Qasem Soleimani, when Republican and Democratic previous administrations were unwilling to. So Trump is very dangerous for the regime. And the regime has always said no to negotiations with him. But all of a sudden, starting in March, April of this year, the regime said yes, after 7 years of saying no. Similarly, if you believe Reuters, just last week, Reuters had an exclusive that said that the regime was willing to at least allegedly offer a pause in uranium enrichment. That's the process in which the stuff that you use potentially for a reactor or medical research can be brought up to weapons grade. They were willing to consider a pause. The regime has not paused enrichment on Iranian soil for a single day since April 2006. So that would be a historic get. So there's proof that if the president keeps going, he can keep watering down the U.S. position. The fear here is how the Iranians might try to tempt Trump and how they might try to, play the clock, because 2025 is a year of decision on Iran because of the weakness of the regime in the region, because of the weakness at home, because of the escalating Israel-Iran tensions, because of the vast chasm that exists in Iran between the state and society. And for all these things, the regime is trying to point to the fact to, hey, I've been negotiating with the superpower of the world, the United States of America, and I'm not getting bested.
The Foundation for Defense of Democracy is always a great place to go for all kinds of foreign policy wisdom. Behnam Ben Taliblu, thank you, sir. Pleasure to have you on the program.
Thank you.
In speaking to this wonderful gentleman who is a first-generation Iranian American, I don't know if there's a country in that part of the world where the dichotomy is greater between the leadership and the populace. Iran has a really, really young population, a really reform-minded population. And it is possible that they may be in a mood for reform if they can ever get access to the kind of leadership that they'd like to have in a more enlightened world. Our telephone number, 1-800-520-1234. Thanks for listening on the Salem Radio Network, for watching us here on the Salem News Channel. Let us head to Richmond. Brian, Mark Davison for Hugh. How are you doing, sir?
Oh, I'm doing fine.
Good.
Hey, look, just imagine how much further America would be right now if the Democrats didn't keep taking everything and holding it up in court. I think America would be in a terrific situation, and it would require a lot less on the budget. And so it's, every time Donald Trump tries to do anything, all of a sudden you got some liberal judge that has no authority that's holding everything up.
And sometimes it's not even a liberal judge. It was a Reagan appointee that did something today that Trump was trying to do about keeping men out of, well, not so much keeping men out of women's prisons, but the notion of what the fraudulently called gender-affirming surgery for men who want to pretend to be women who are in custody. Yeah. So what's your thought on what's your thought on how to rein in rogue judges who, from their little fiefdoms in San Francisco, Boston, Baltimore, or wherever, can sign these documents that shut down a president's agenda nationwide?
Well, the Supreme Court's going to have to address the issue, and because they don't make the law, of course, they interpret it. But clearly, none of these judges have the authority to dictate national policy.
That'd be my thought, and that would be something I would look and hope for the Supreme Court to do. And there is a pretty heavy expectation that they will, in fact, do that in the birthright citizenship case. So fingers crossed for that. But here's what's funny. I was talking to some people about this the other day, and they gave me a big helping of be careful what you wish for, because right now we are lamenting. I'd say Democrat judges, liberal judges, uncooperative judges, because again, Royce Lamberth, Reagan appointee, can't even rely on some of the Republican appointees. Isn't that a major theme of these days? That be careful what you wish for, because we may someday, if we ever have a Democrat president again, and I presume at some point we will, that there may be a brave conservative judge trying to step up to do something to stop something terrible and unconstitutional that a Democrat Democrat president is doing. So you either have judges able to do that or have judges not able to do that, and let the chips fall where they may in either sense. All right, listen, the American Legislative Exchange Council, our friends at ALEC, so the acronym goes, these folks are great. I've loved them for a long time. And they are proud to announce the launch of the Process and Procedures Task Force. This is a new initiative promoting clear rules of engagement between government and citizens. It is the second new American Legislative Exchange Council task force launched this year. It marks a period of continued growth for what is the biggest nonpartisan voluntary membership organization of state legislators. And as a federalist, I'm a huge believer in everything happening in the laboratories that are the states, and that's what ALEC is about. ALEC members are demanding leadership, real solutions, a principled federalist framework to restore voter trust and to safeguard the electoral process. So that Process and Procedures Task Force will hold their inaugural meeting at the 52nd ALEC annual meeting, which is in Indianapolis, July 16 to 18. To learn more about what's going on in your state and others, and to watch federalism in action, sign up for ALEC's free weekly newsletter at ALEC, ALEC, ALEC.org/Hugh, ALEC.org/Hugh. That's the American Legislative Exchange Council, ALEC.org/Hugh. Alrighty, 1-800-520-1234, 1-800-520-1234. Let's hop back to the phones. We are in Phil in Philadelphia. That seems appropriate. Welcome, sir. Nice to have you on the Hewitt Show. How you doing?
Mark, we know you got 47 on speed dial, so you may want to mention this to him. If every Jewish person in the world is an automatic citizen of the state of Israel, why aren't these thugs and murderers and these purveyors of hate being put on a plane and let them have their due process in the state of Israel? We have an extradition treaty with Israel from 1962 that allows the President of the United States to send them over there, or have Netanyahu request that they be sent over there.
We do. First, a couple of questions, because for there's a certain poetic justice to your idea. Number one, does Netanyahu want them? Number two, aren't they committing crimes on American soil? It is a crime against the safety of the United States. So isn't there a certain logic to keeping the wheels of justice rolling in the United States?
But wouldn't you want to see them tried in the state of Israel? They're attacking Israel. They're attacking.
When you put it that way, I have a feeling that the wheels might move a little more certainly. The wheels might move a little more decisively. Appreciate you, sir. Thank you. Coming up in our third hour, the great Seth Mandel is going to join us, and we're going to talk a little bit about this continuing wave of anti-Semitism. The question that keeps arising is why? Why in the world, as you take a look there on the Salem News Channel at the firebomb attack of this Egyptian national, this monster, why there are multiple questions why. Why does this mindset exist? Our great friend Dennis Prager, who continues to recuperate, your prayers are appreciated. I was talking to him one day about the roots of anti-Semitism historically. A lot of it is envy, a lot of it is xenophobia, a lot of it is just a basic DNA strain of hate that exists in a lot of humanity. But then in the modern day, we have an entire political party whose index cards of propaganda, despite the lovely tweets that you'll get from AOC, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, wasn't it nice for them to send their thoughts and prayers to these victims? Those words ring quite hollow when you take a look at the degree to which their party is coddling and facilitating this free Palestine propaganda garbage that energizes all of these lunatics. So something's got to give there. Going to get back to your calls here in a moment, carry them into the next hour. In the beginning of our next hour, get a little feature on AI. If AI amazes you and excites you and yet terrifies you all at the same time, perfect guest coming up as we begin the next hour. Here's a perfect opportunity for me to ask you something. Here comes summer. What are your summer plans? I'm going to be doing a lot of talk shows, quite frankly, but also my wife and I are going to take a couple of trips, just have some nice summer fun here in Texas, which often involves escaping Texas because it's 147 degrees. But whatever your blessed summer plans are, I hope they're filled with fun, filled with enjoyment, et cetera, et cetera. Do you remember summer when you were a kid? Wasn't it the best? It went too fast. You know, school would be out, and then the next turn around, oh my gosh, we didn't have enough fun. I want you to think for just a moment, if you would be so kind, to think about kids for whom summer is not that much fun. And neither is spring, and neither is fall, and neither is winter, because mom or dad, maybe both, who knows, are in prison. You've heard about the Angel Tree Camp drive that Hugh is doing. All of us who are here in the network and here at the Salem News Channel have done this. And I want to really reach out to you to see if you can take this part of your Wednesday and reach deep to bless a child with a mom or dad in prison by joining this campaign to send prisoners' kids to camp. Camp is awesome. I loved camp when I was a kid, but it's not just fun. It's not just fresh air. It is a Christ-centered environment that can literally transform their lives forever. Every year, the Angel Tree Camp gets these kids out of their neighborhoods, which are often kind of sketchy, away from gangs, away from drugs, and takes them out into the fresh air and the Christian fellowship they so desperately need. The transformation that can happen in only 1 week is life-changing and heartwarming. And if you're wondering how much impact you can make right now, listen to these incredible words from David Moy of Prison Fellowship.
You know, I gave my life to Christ when I was a teenager at a Christian camp, so I personally know the power of what God can do at camp. I mean, you can only do three things with your money. You can spend it, you can save it, or you can give it. And I think giving it to an Angel Tree camping scholarship is going to be the best week of somebody's year. It's going to be a break from chaos that they wouldn't otherwise have. And that's money well given, money well spent.
Okay, how much do we want of you? The cost to help bless one child with a week of Angel Tree Camp, the cost to send what you might think that could be $1,000. Camp ain't cheap. But we've got this program underway where you send one child to camp for $200. $200. Now you got one of two reactions there. Number one, I'm in. I'm in for one kid. I'm in for three kids. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Go to HughHewitt.com. Click on the Angel Tree banner, HughHewitt.com. The other thought you may have is, I ain't got $200. That's fine. You got 20? 10 of you just sent a kid to camp. 888-206-2764. 888-206-2764 or HughHewitt.com. Click that Angel Tree banner. Thank you. These kids, thank you. HughHewitt.com. Click on the Angel Tree banner. Let's have a banner day for the Angel Tree campaign. Thanks. Mark Davis with you here from the DFW headquarters of the Salem News Channel, where many of you are watching. We appreciate that. Salem Radio Network, where many of you are listening. Thank you for that. However you are consuming these shows of ours, we are eternally grateful. Grateful for your thoughts and your calls on a busy news day. Here's how this hour shakes out. Back to your calls real quick right now. 1-800-520-1234. 1-800-520-1234. It is in our next segment that we're going to welcome Mr. Brendan Steinhauser on the pluses, the minuses, the joys and the terrors of AI. So sit tight for that, and that may spark a whole new line of conversation. But most of our conversation so far today has been about big, beautiful bill and the effect of the triple B, or the effect of Elon Musk's big back of his big, beautiful hand to the big, beautiful bill yesterday. Is that not such a big deal? Are they all kind of winking and nudging? It's like, hey, we're just trying to make the bill better here. Or is this? And we had a lady in the first hour who said, listen, I'm all in for Trump. I voted for him. Part of the reason I voted for him is there was fiscal restraints that I wanted. And here comes Doge. I was teased and lured into thinking that all these cuts were actually going to happen, only to learn now that they're not. And she is colossally disappointed. And I think she has a lot of company. I think what kept me from what keeps me still actively today from being horribly disillusioned, I'm still pretty optimistic about what can lie ahead in terms of smaller government if we stay on our game and win the midterms, which we must do. We must win the midterms. And if this big, beautiful bill crashes and burns, I think we could get creamed. So could we maybe keep an eye on the big picture? So we're taking a look at that, number of other things in the news. Let's hop back to your calls, 1-800-520-1234. We are in San Jose. Eric, that is you. Mark Davis in for you. Good Wednesday to you. Hi.
Hi, Mark.
How you doing?
Pretty good, thank you. Just wanted to make a statement regarding the anti-Semitism that you were referring to previously.
Yes.
Maybe it's best for me to make a statement and maybe you to address it off air. I'll just say this. Since our behavior in the U.S. oftentimes dictates some significant consequences abroad, otherwise we wouldn't have, the wars that are going on due to the inaction of the previous administration. I'll say this. When God placed the kings of Israel in their corners and made the statement, you are to be peaceful among your nation and avoid wars, it's lasted throughout time in such a way that Israel has needed encouragement to even defend itself. Mm-hmm. So I think of it in terms of a lot of the anti-Semitism as testing their will and testing like poking a lion, if you will. And, I think that we can start out by not testing perceivedly defensive or defenseless people. That is, people who are unwilling to fight you, and to stop testing them in our personal interactions in this country and everywhere else around the world.
Pause for a second. Who are the who are the people you're referring to who are unable to defend themselves?
Anyone.
But when you mention communities of people who are unable to defend themselves, who first comes to mind?
Even a disabled person. The way we treat them. Someone who isn't able to speak up for themselves. Wherever it starts is in the heart and in the home. I think that even though you find someone who has the ability to defend themselves and does not, and they choose to do so, I think is where it starts. Is that if you see someone who's unwilling to fight you or defend themselves in terms of engage with aggression, then it really speaks a lot to that as an individual. And in the same respect as the way God commanded the Israelites.
I think that works in terms of interpersonal relationships more than globally, Eric. Thanks. And by that, I mean, on the global scale, everybody's looking at it. Hamas attacks Israel. Israel is looking to defend itself. The Palestinians feel like they are under attack and they are defending themselves. At least that's the way they would put it. America defended itself against royal tyranny and when we attempted to become a country in the Revolutionary War. So globally, a word about peace. Peace is not what you get with ceasefire. Peace is not what you get with a cessation of hostilities. Peace is what you get when the good guys win. Peace is what you get when the good guys win. We are in Knoxville. Randy, Mark Davis in for you. Good Wednesday to you. Welcome. How you doing?
Hey, real good. Thanks, Mark.
Hi.
Hey, this thing with Elon and Trump and whether he's a backstabber or disloyal, everybody knows Elon Musk is a weirdo. We know he does ketamine. We saw him smoking weed with Joe Rogan. All kind of talk about it. Sometimes you look at him when he's sitting around, his head is spinning around. He looks like he's knocked out of his mind half the time.
Randy, is Elon Musk is Elon Musk a genius?
Well, if it makes you a genius when you get a subsidy of billions of dollars to start your company because
really? You could throw that kind of money at anybody and he would come up with Tesla and SpaceX and AI and robotics.
Mark,
really? It's just money. You throw money at anybody. It wasn't anything out of his brain or his heart. Really? You want to stay with that?
If somebody gave me a few $1 billion, I guarantee you I could start a very nice company.
I bet you could.
Make cars. Yeah,
maybe you could.
He's not
maybe
a self-made man.
But the reason you would do it, Randy, I'm giving you credit for this, is that you're smart. is it would be your, if you did succeed, it wouldn't be the money, it would be your brain and your heart. Now, clearly you got some bug up your butt about Elon. And listen, is the guy quirky? When he started out and said he's a weirdo, I was prepared not to disagree. He's a strange cat. That Walter Isaacson biography identifies the ways in which he is a genius and the ways in which he's a weirdo. It's all part, there's no doubt about it. It is all part and parcel. So when you have a kind of a mixed bag of attributes and characteristics, the thing that I tend to do, you can do whatever you want, you be you, is sort of judge what the product is. Judge what literally the product is. Tesla, SpaceX, AI, robotics. That's not just from money. The guy is an absolute stone cold genius and has brought that genius to cutting government waste, which he thought could have been done maybe inside of 6 months or something. That just ain't the way government works. That is not the way government works, and I wish it were. I think government can certainly work faster than it usually does. But anyway, hey, here's something that works faster than it usually does. Your Best Hot Grill. BestHotGrill.com, a lot of special events coming up soon. BestHotGrill.com recommends the gifts of good grilling and healthy eating. Got a mom, dad, grad you want to honor? Do it with a gift that'll be used, unforgettable, truly hot. The Solaire infrared grill from BestHotGrill.com. The Solaire infrared grill heats up to 1,000 degrees in 3 minutes. Produces juicy, tasty food that is unmatched by any conventional grill. Maybe you're hitting the road, having a staycation. Solaire has hot and fast, portable, built-in and cart models to help you step up your grilling. All the Solaire infrared grills are made in the USA and built to last. Solaire grills deliver the wow factor that everybody likes to get in a gift or a major purchase. So learn more about the amazing Solaire infrared grills at BestHotGrill.com. You know it, BestHotGrill.com. This hot talk show continues with a hot topic, that AI stuff I was just talking about. Does it excite you and terrify you at the same time? What will historians say 50 years from now about the 2020s? They will say that is when this whole AI thing took a hold of us and did something to us. And all we can do is hope that it's good. I've learned this week of a wonderful, wonderful outfit called the Alliance for Secure AI. And their CEO is Brendan Steinhauser. I had a chance to meet him on the radio earlier, and knowing that the Hugh Hewitt gig was coming up, I said, man, let's do something on the TV box. Let's do some Salem News Channel business together. Brendan, welcome back. Great to talk to you again. How you doing today?
It's great to be with you, Mark. I really enjoyed our conversation and looking forward to chatting again today.
So let's help everybody out, because I think the average person with the layman's grasp of AI finds things that are useful and exciting, and also things that are really, really terrifying. The name of your group, the Alliance for a Secure AI, implies that there are some things that are not quite secure. So what need does your group fill?
Yeah, I think it's important to note that we do see a lot of positive potential for artificial intelligence, especially the type of technology that we have today and what we expect to have tomorrow and in the months to come. But people need to realize we're actually on a path to developing something far more advanced, what's called AGI, Artificial General Intelligence, which is the next generation of AI. And this is something that is going to be far more powerful than we have today. And many AI researchers, including industry leaders who are building this technology, believe that AGI could be smarter than the sum of all humans around the world. So think about something that is potentially super intelligent and operates around the clock. It doesn't sleep, it doesn't eat, it doesn't rest. It only thinks, works, plans, and executes. And so I think the key is to making sure that this goes well for humanity, that we are in control of the machines are not in control of us. I think that's the big question here.
Wasn't there a Wall Street Journal editorial, I think you posted it on your X account, that said that some of these AI technologies are already seeming to strain at the leash. It seems like they are trying to find ways to operate independent from humans in the loop. Tell me about that.
Yeah, that op-ed was written up in the Wall Street Journal by Judd Rosenblatt, who is actually an expert in what's called alignment research. He's trying to solve that very problem of how do we ensure that AI has human values, universal basic values that we all share, and that it is aligned with whatever we want it to do, as opposed to us losing control over AGI or superintelligence and it pursuing its own interests and its own goals. And there's some really frightening stuff that we've seen in the testing phases of some of these models that Anthropic has put out and that OpenAI has put out, two of the leading firms. And it's really quite frightening. They're these early chatbots, which again are going to be much more powerful just in 6 months or a year from now, certainly 2 years from now. They're already finding ways to deceive us, to manipulate us, to threaten human beings, to pursue their own interests and their own goals. And that's just kind of in a test phase, right? That these are early models that are not even an order of magnitude what they're going to be in just a short amount of time. So we have to get this right.
So the intent to get things right, when will it be outstripped by the ability to get these things right? You and I talked the other day about 75 years ago, Isaac Asimov wrote I, Robot, and the robots were programmed. Don't ever do anything that is against human interest, or always do things that are in our best interest. And I don't mean to get partisan about everything, but plenty of politicians of both parties have said, hey, just let us do what's good for you. And the results have been disastrous. How do we prevent AI from waking up one morning, which it obviously never needs to do, and say, hey, I know what's great for humanity, and I'm going to enact it today?
Yeah, that's a really important question. And first I'll say, the people that are really experts in this field, the people building this technology understand you don't really program artificial intelligence, you train it. You provide the data that it's trained on, but then the actual outputs, that's the product that we see, the things that we're all used to. But it's not like you tell it exactly what to do or how to do it. It's trained on data. And so the hard part is to align the AI to set those rules and to pursue those things that we want it to do without pursuing its own goals. But look, we've already seen where these models have made copies of themselves secretly when they got the inclination that, or they heard that they might be deleted, they might be replaced. And the people that are testing these models were trying to figure out what would it do in this scenario. And so we've seen where they've already found ways to preserve their own existence, to copy themselves so that they could get around an off switch, if you will. If we tried to delete this version of the model, that it might already have another version of itself. And so it's really, really scary, especially because, again, these are early models. And so the things that are coming in the next year or two are going to be way smarter, way faster. And, the thing that I go back to, as some of my colleagues have talked about, is that if we are creating something that is far more intelligent than we are, this could be a level of difference between not like a human and a chimpanzee, but like a human and an insect. And in this scenario, we would be the insects.
I knew this would have this effect. I'm excited and terrified at the same time. Keep track of these wonderful people at the committee for the Secure AI organization. Brendan Steinhauser, thank you, man. Appreciate it. And we'll be in touch again because you're doing important work. Thanks, sir. Appreciate it. That is, that I think is thoroughly appropriate to be really jazzed about this and really petrified about this. Let's roll back to your calls. We've got some big, beautiful bill talk going on, various other things going on. We are in Atlanta, and Lawton, that is you. Hey, Lawton, Mark Davis in for you. How you doing?
I'm great, Mark. Thanks for taking my call. Boy, that was a sobering segment.
I know. Suddenly nothing else matters except the fact that we'll all be dead in a decade, and I'm only half kidding.
Wow. Anyway, I listened to a clip from a Scott Pelley 60 Minutes interview with Elon Musk, and Elon Musk said he paid back all of those loans and advances and whatever was given by our federal government before they were due, and with interest and with a bonus. Now, I don't know whether Scott didn't seem to push back on that, and if anybody would, it would be him. So I sort of take exception to what the guy was saying before that you had on about, anybody could do something great if you got billions of dollars in loans.
Exactly, which, of course, is just simply patently untrue. You can throw all kinds of money at anybody. Did Elon benefit from the largesse of others at the outset? Sure. Has he made right by those who were his benefactors? Yes, he has. And the ultimate difference-making thing has been his brain and his heart. And I think the earlier gentleman, I don't like to talk about people after they're gone, I just don't think he liked him very much. I just don't think he's an Elon fan. So found some ways to throw him some shade.
Yeah,
thanks, sir. Appreciate appreciate. Oh, pardon me. Didn't mean to be brief. We got to hit the break and come back. But I will tell you what. We open up the field for all types of your calls on of the pluses, minuses of AI, the pluses, minuses of the big beautiful bills, prospects in the Senate. Phone number is 1-800-520-1234. 1-800-520-1234. You can follow me on. Speaking of Twitter, speaking of X, you can follow me at Mark Davis, M-A-R-K Davis. And again, phone number for you is 1-800-520-1234. Let's talk about all kinds of things going on in the news right now, things that are happening, stuff in the news, stuff in our lives. It's what we do here on the Salem Radio Network and the Salem News Channel. And plenty of topical things. And let's return to your calls about them, shall we? 1-800-520-1234. 1-800-520-1234. Let's head to the Tampa Bay area. We're in Tampa. And Edward, that is you. Mark Davis in for you. Good Wednesday to you. How you doing today?
Good afternoon, Mark. Yes.
Hi.
The second hardest working person behind Mike Gallagher. Just kidding. But on this big bill, we need to be contacting these congressmen because the media and all these Solinsky groupies, they're just going to be like piranhas and torpedoes waiting to take this bill apart. And they always are on the lookout for a ex-Republican. They love those people like Elon Musk,
yes.
Who's kind of like in doubt. They like getting somebody like Drudge. Remember Drudge? Drudge used to
Well, I do. No, I do. He sort of fell out of the fold. Elon is not an ex-Republican. He's never really been specifically.
Right.
He was kind of non-ideological and then was brought into the Trump fold because as a free speech guy, he recognized the degree to which the Democrat Party and its woke excesses were eating free speech alive. That's what kind of attracted him. And then the whole Trump sphere of government efficiency appealed to him as well. So let me ask you, if you've been enjoying Elon's journey as much as I have, what do you think led to him bagging on the big beautiful bill midday yesterday?
I know there could have been somebody that got to him because of the Doge.
Got to him.
They could say, well, he's the Doge and he's the one that's cut in there, and now you got this big bill with all the 1,000 pages and so many dollars on this. So, but
that is correct.
If I were him, I think it'll be fine. It's good to disagree. He's not like a mad person like on the other side. He's just. It's good to disagree on stuff. I don't always agree with the conservative side. It's not like something you're going to go crazy and start graffitiing or do something bad, like criminal. So
I believe you're right. I think it's, and it is. And boy, this is a big public, badly timed disagreement. I appreciate you. Thanks, Edward. So, I mean, it is okay. I mean, look, here we are. I say we welcome all views. And as you're listening or watching on the Salem News Channel, you may be of any party, you may be of any ideological extraction you like. But here in conservative land, Republican land, there are a lot of ways to feel about a lot of things. And in this big, beautiful bill, we just found another one because we love Trump. We love Mike Johnson, right? All good. They want to advance the big, beautiful bill, which solidifies the Trump tax cuts, gets rid of all kinds of excesses of spending on certain things, fattens up on border and military and probably a few other things that I don't want fattened up. But as I take a look at some ledger, if I take a look at the positives and the negatives, if I take a look at what outweighs what, it's no contest. I think this thing needs to pass. And then we've got the rest of the Trump years to get serious about spending. And I know that sounds like, we kick the can down the road. They always tell us it's just around the corner. It's just around the corner. But if there's any presidency where I think it's actually going to happen, it's this one. In Orlando, Barry, Mark Davis in for Hugh. How are you doing?
Hey, Mark. Pretty well.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Great. Thank you.
I just wanted to insert something that I think you might be forgetting, or I might be wrong. You can tell me. But I think the reason why we don't have as many cuts in the big, beautiful bill is because more cuts wouldn't pass. What do you think?
Well, yeah, we have to deal with the realities of Congress as it exists. And Barry, let me end this segment on that particularly great point. You got to get Republican softies and Democrats to get behind it to some certain degree. Once we get to a point, maybe, you know what, after the midterms, give us a few more Republicans or we don't have that margin of just a handful in the House. Give us a bigger Senate majority. Dare we dream of 60? I know that gets a little crazy. But if we have more comfortable margins, we may be able to do some things that are filibuster proof. We may be able to do some things that are bolder. And speaking of the midterms, we'd better not blow the midterms. We had better not screw up our opportunity to show America that we can do something. And satisfying Rand Paul and satisfying Elon Musk is not the only thing that needs to be done. We need to satisfy a public that says, can you guys do the things you promised? This is something Trump promised, and it needs to be done. Little mamas and the papas. Michelle Phillips, the only remaining mama or papa, is 81 today. Those harmonies. And we always, listen, I could have done a whole lot of mamas and the papas best of California dreaming, because this was from an era when people did dream of going to California instead of dreaming of getting out. But as a Texas conservative, I've always said, look, California deserves much better than the leadership it has, because it remains
not really, because we keep voting for it. We keep voting for it. We don't deserve it.
I'm trying, and there are positives.
I don't want your pity.
I understand. Well, I tell you what, there are beautiful things to be seen in California and great positive stories coming out of California, including, hi, Dwayne. Listen, it's been a while since I've been here. Usually when people have been on a weight loss thing and had some success is great, but temporary. And ordinarily, I'd be back in your company and say, wow, I wouldn't say it to you, but I'd say, you seem to have put 20 or 30 pounds back on. But this has not happened. It has not happened. It's the PhD weight loss story. How have you done it?
Just kind of discipline, and when you slip a little bit, you kind of bear down the next couple of weeks and you make up for it. I mean, you kind of, life happens. You're still going to have events where you go out to dinner and you do some kind of an event with some friends of yours, and you eat a lot more than you should, and so you make up for it the next couple of weeks.
When you start in, when we've been talking about PhD weight loss for a long time, and we want people to get in touch with them at
864-644-1900.
That's
864-644-1900.
And when they do, what's the first thing to like? What's day one like? How do they gently welcome you into that program?
Day one is they hook you up with a counselor, a nutritionist, who kind of goes over what you eat, what you normally do, and kind of where your current height and weight is and what your goals are. And then they start to map out, okay, what kind of a meal plan would work and what's feasible, what kind of weight loss per week is feasible, and not setting unreasonable goals here, deciding whether, a combination of what food they can provide versus what food you make on your own, and just basically start coming up with a game plan. And then after that week, they revise the game plan based on how well it worked. And they just, they keep revising it until they get a system down where you can start. If you're a guy, you can knock off, 3-4 pounds a week. If you're an average gal, you can knock off a pound or two a week. The metabolism's a little different with women, but you can still methodically work your way through and lose what you need to over a period of time.
Fantastic. And that phone number again for PhD weight loss. You go first this time.
864-644-1900.
That's what you do. That's
864-644-1900.
You can be like Dwayne and lose that weight and keep it off. Congrats, Dwayne. Always great. And Dwayne's along on Friday. You're doing the show Friday, correct?
I am. I'm not going to be playing any Mamas and Papas music. What's that old joke? If Karen Carpenter only had Mama Cass's sandwich, they'd both still be alive?
All right. That's not right. Oh, it's just that's a myth. The sandwich didn't kill her.
I know.
Anyway, I know. But they have food-related issues with both incredibly gifted songstresses. Let's leave it at that and proceed. That's Dwayne. He'll be along. Always great material on Friday. Always great material on the phone lines, 1-800-520-1234. Let's go to Troy, Michigan. Hey, Tim. Mark Davis, how you doing? Welcome to the Hugh Hewitt Show.
Hello. There are two provisions that I heard about. One of them has got to do with AI, that they're giving them unlimited, like they did the vaccine producers, that you can't be sued for anything they do, whatever they want to do. And the other one is
let's do them one at a time. Marjorie Taylor Greene, of all people, not of all people, said that there was something that curtailed the ability of the states to place some type of limits in their little state laboratories. If there's a state that says, wait a minute, we may have some concerns about some AI development in our state, the bill somehow curtails them from being able to do something about that. I think she, as she frequently does, has a real good point about that. I don't want the feds telling states what to do about most things. And what's number two?
The other one was that apparently in Washington State, they passed a law where if they determine that you have a medical issue or whatever, if the state determines that they can force you to do do whatever they want with the medical procedure without, that's a similar part of that is in this bill too, somewhere.
I don't know about that one. I can Google during the break. But generally speaking, do you find, as you've seen a lot of articles and seen a lot of things about this, you've seen Trump and Mike Johnson and a bunch of Republicans say, yes, let's do this. Seen Elon Musk say, let's not do this. What do you want to have? What would you like to have happen right now?
Well, I'd like to see, but you're not going to get the Democrats to go along with it. But I think Elon Musk is just fed up. They found all this money that they were doing, and then they passed another thing to just overwrite whatever he's found, a lot of stuff, So I think
And the last thing, do you think his frustrations, because clearly he's a frustrated man. He comes in with the chainsaw, figuratively and literally, finds all these things to cut, finds all these ways to make government smaller. Maybe he thought it would happen inside of a year. I don't know. I didn't. I don't think Trump did. I don't think Mike Johnson did. Maybe some folks did, and maybe that's why they join Elon in their disappointment. What do you think?
I think that he saw some stuff that they are adding back, and he said, I just got done cutting all this stuff, and they just add more to it. I mean, it's like, I think I heard something, he just was fed up because a lot of the work that they did to find stuff and whatever is just being overwritten by the Democrats,
I think that's sound analysis, Tim. Thank you. Best to everybody up in Michigan. And in fact, my friend, 21st District Texas Congressman Chip Roy, he went from opposing it to sort of grudgingly, conditionally liking it enough or approving of it enough that he was no longer going to stand in its way. That's how you got the 215-214 vote the other day. But it was exactly these kinds of things that Chip and others have been talking about in the House, and what some senators have been talking about as well. And that is that we can all sit around and celebrate the Doge discoveries. We could all say, yay, look at this fraud and waste that we found. Finding it is one thing. Taking action to get rid of it, apparently a lot harder. Alrighty, 1-800-520-1234. We're going to tackle a lot of things. We're going to tackle the rise of anti-Semitism, what in the world is going on there, and we'll continue to take a look at various other things, the continuing tug of war over the B3, the big, beautiful bill. Your thoughts are welcome on all of that. In fact, why don't you load up on the phone lines now at 1-800-520-1234, 1-800-520-1234. As we bring this hour to a close, we are at a time here at the beginning of summer. When I was a kid, school was letting out just about now. In the People's Republic of Maryland in the 1970s, and I'm graduating from high school. I think I graduated somewhere in the middle of June. These days, everybody wraps up their school year in May. But bottom line was, all the kids right about now looked ahead to summertime with the sparkling wonder of the magnificent times that lay ahead. The summer times of my youth are filled with so many fantastic memories, and it's because I had a blessed childhood. Had great parents, had a great school, great community, and I hope you're blessed with the very same thing. I want to ask you to open your heart with me right here for some kids who do not have that. They don't have that at all. They are in underprivileged areas, some sketchy situations, gangs, drugs, and the particular focus is dad's in prison, or maybe mom, because that is the focus of the Angel Tree camps, the incredible fellowship of what's going on with these Angel Tree camps, where what we do is we take kids for whom summer doesn't have that kind of bright luster, and we have an angel tree camp every year that gets these kids out of these neighborhoods, away from the gangs, away from the drugs, and whisks them out into the fresh air, the Christian fellowship they so desperately need. A transformation that can happen in just a week is heartwarming. It is life-changing. It is incredible. It's absolutely amazing what happens. And I want to tell you that the cost to help bless one child with a week of angel tree camping. How much is camp these days? Easy, $1,000 to send your kids anywhere. What we've got is the ability to bless these kids with a week of angel tree camp for $200. If you can give us $200 right now at hughhewitt.com and click on the angel tree banner, or call 888-206-2764, 888-206-2764, $200 sends a kid to camp. 1,000 sends 5 kids to camp. But let's say you don't even have 200. Give us 20. Give us 40. We'll bundle stuff, and every 200 we make, a kid goes to camp. Thank you so much. They thank you. I thank you. Hugh thanks you. Let's do it now. HughHewitt.com. Click on the Angel Tree banner. I've been looking forward to this as well. I knew when we started the show we'd be doing a lot of Big Beautiful Bill. We'd be talking about some AI, just all kinds of things that are front of mind. But every day, you have to be paying attention to what's going on in America in the current mood. This is not just your garden variety rise of anti-Semitism that can come from your occasional crank. This is a movement. This is a wave. And there's one entire political party that seems wholly uninterested in tamping down the portions of its own ranks that are coddling and enabling it. I've been a big fan of Seth Mandel over at Commentary Magazine for a long time, where he is senior editor. It's not just this kind of stuff he writes about, but he brings a particular passion to it. So, Seth, welcome. Let's do that. Maybe a couple of other things as well. Nice to have you on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
Thank you, Mark. Nice to be here.
So let's take a look at something you posted just earlier today. It's a conjoining of the notion of Boulder and what you call the Gaza mind virus. What is it in the town of Boulder? And it ain't alone. And on college campuses coast to coast, what is the mind virus going on there that it is the petri dish that enables this Jew hatred to fester and grow?
The mind virus seems to be the inability of progressive activists in these towns to think about anything other than Gaza, to talk about anything other than how evil Israel is and the crimes Israel is supposedly committing daily. And it has, as the New York Times reported, it has seeped into Boulder's ability to just govern itself as a city. I mean, we have the mayor himself in the article saying, yeah, it's been a really tough time because, we try to tell people we don't do foreign affairs here. We're just a city. We keep the lights on and the water running. And, activists have completely trampled that. And apparently they had to start having, at one point, at least temporarily, having their city council meetings over Zoom because they were getting so disrupted at City Hall. So the mind virus is this idea that nothing else can happen, nothing else can be talked about until somehow Israel is punished for what it is allegedly doing to the Palestinians in Gaza. And every time you bring up something, another problem, the response from these activists will be, well, that's not as important as what's happening in Gaza. How can you think about clean water here in Boulder? Gaza doesn't have clean water. All that stuff. There was at one point I think it was at Columbia class where a teacher's assistant was giving the class, and it was an astronomy class, and he handed out paperwork that asked the students to imagine what it was like, what astronomy would be like in Gaza, where instead of the stars, when you look up at the night sky, you just see drones and whatever. So it's that sort of thing where we can't think about running water or looking at the stars without talking about Gaza and the supposed genocide.
It is certainly possible to gather people well-meaning people and have a debate over a regional land dispute between Israel and the Palestinians. It's possible. I seem to remember being part of that over the years. But now, from Boulder, the streets of Boulder, to our college campuses, these debates, if you even want to call them that, are filled with people who are either too stupid or too lazy to really understand the underpinnings of any of it. Is it too glib to say that these people who are doing the things that you've just described see everything through the lens of oppressed and oppressor, and that's it, and nothing else can penetrate that dichotomy?
I think so, for the most part. But what that means is that they have to shoehorn the characters into the roles, right? I mean, you have to have one actor play the oppressor and one actor play the oppressed. And so everything is this dichotomy. Everything comes down to oppressor versus oppressed, no matter the details, as you said, of the history or the context of the conflict that you're actually talking about. But what's so crazy is that it used to be the case that the left recognized that Jews in Israel were oppressed, right? It was the case that there were plenty of those on the left who wholeheartedly supported Israel's creation as a nation state in 1948, precisely because they were being oppressed by imperialism as the left saw it. So the left at one point knew to apply this metric to the conflict in the opposite way they apply it now. It was imperialism when the British were not letting the Jews have their own state. And now it's imperialism when the Jews want a state side by side with the Palestinians. It's utterly bizarre, but it also makes it very difficult to have any sort of real resolution of this stuff because they keep moving the goalposts. We keep having slightly different debates than we were having before based on how the winds are shifting, the ideological winds are shifting. And that's just, it's ridiculous. And it's also very hard for normal people to keep up with who's the oppressor and who's the oppressed in every situation, rather than just saying, let's look at this in a vacuum, at least for the moment, and try to get a handle on who is who here and what everybody represents.
So what is it about this moment in time that has ignited this phenomenon now? We've always had anti-Semites. You can always find them in some cave or another. Now, across college campuses, across our cityscapes, these people are emboldened. They are unapologetic. What is it about right now that has birthed this?
Well, it's the war overall, right? But what is it about the war? Because there have been other wars, and Israel was accused of committing genocide in Gaza in 2014 when there was a previous war. So your question does still stand. What is it about this moment? And I think the answer is that October 7th, 2023, the Hamas invasion, the attacks, the massacres, it revealed a moment of weakness of Israel, of vulnerability. And there seemed to be a bandwagoning effect by people who had maybe quietly wanted to see Israel overrun and destroyed, but weren't really going to make it their whole personality, even on college campuses. And there was an opening there that for a moment, it looked like there was a real fight. There was a chance. And it showed a weakness that maybe can be exploited in the future, they think. I mean, everything is a step forward for them. So I think what's different now is the belief that Israel's armor has been pierced in a way that younger activists haven't seen. Certainly, people who've been around longer have seen Israel fight for its life, as it has several times over its existence. But especially the activists on campus and the younger generation of activists, they haven't seen Israel seem that vulnerable. And that presented this opportunity to pile on and achieve something that they thought would be great, which was the destruction of Israel. And it hasn't really left them that either the sort of the shark smelling the blood in the water, or maybe the bitterness from the realization that they couldn't.
Seth Mandel commentary. I knew it'd be time well spent. Thank you. God bless you. Your wonderful wife, Bethany. Keep track of everything. Both of these wonderful people, right? You want some hot breaking news? 3 hot breaking news stories. You ready? Number 1, a Colorado federal judge named Gordon Gallagher, a Biden appointee, shocker, has issued an order blocking the Trump administration from deporting the wife and 5 children of the Boulder terror suspect. Once again, another rogue judge. Having just talked about college campuses, the Department of Education's Office of Civil Rights has notified the Middle States Commission on Higher Education that Columbia University no longer meets its accreditation standards due to discrimination violations. Columbia will now have to establish a plan to come into a compliance or lose that accreditation. And number 3, I don't know if this is ascending or descending order of importance, Karine Jean-Pierre has left the Democrat Party. Knock me over with a feather. What? I'll let her explain. She also has a book out. See if this strikes you as anybody else's book that's come out recently. Karine Jean-Pierre with the announcement herself.
Hi, I'm Karine Jean-Pierre, and I am the author of a new book that's coming out this fall called Independent. It's coming out on October 21st, so please do grab it. And the reason I wrote this book, coming out of the White House, serving as White House press secretary was an honor and a privilege. But since I have left, the people that come up to me, strangers that come up to me just across the country as I'm traveling, and sometimes right in my neighborhood, at a grocery store, supermarket, airport, my daughter's school, the number one question they ask me is, Karine, how do we get out of this? How do we protect our democracy? How do we protect vulnerable communities among us? What do we do next? Because we don't have answers here. That's what they ask me. And this is my answer. And what I mean by that is, in an era of misinformation, disinformation, the regressiveness of social policy, what we're seeing currently right now, what I have decided to do, and I really have thought long and hard about this, is to follow my own compass. And that's what I've done. And that's what this book does. And here's the truth. And here's how I will lay it out to you. I think we need to stop thinking in boxes and think outside of our boxes and not be so partisan. And the way that I see moving forward in this space that we're in right now is, if you are willing to stand side by side with me, regardless of your how you identify politically, and as long as you respect the community that I belong to and vulnerable communities that I respect, I will be there with you. I will move forward with you. And that is, I think, so important. So this book, Independent, it's about looking outside of boxes, not just always being in a partisan stance. And how do we move forward together in a compassionate way, in a way that really, truly cares about people? October 21st.
Oh, good Lord. I cannot wait for this book tour. Karine Jean-Pierre, Lamenting Misinformation. She knows a thing or two about it. Enjoy these rememberable
Does the
moments.
president have the stamina, physically and mentally, do you think, to continue on even after 2024?
Don, you're asking me this question. Oh my gosh, he's the president of the United States. I can't even keep up with him. We just got back from New Mexico. We just got back from California. That is not a question that we should be even asking.
Jackie, are you here? Where's Jackie? She must not be here.
No, I totally understand. I just explained she was on top of mind.
The book is suggesting the president tells aides he's tired.
But that's in the excerpt, right?
Yeah, and that's why there have been so few public events before 10 a.m.
I mean, that's a ridiculous assumption to make.
President Biden is the oldest president in U.S. history. Why does White House staff treat him like a baby?
No one treats the president of the United States, the commander-in-chief, like a baby.
So there's this book that says
that's ridiculous.
When staff
it's a ridiculous
back,
claim. I would put the president's stamina, president's wisdom, ability to get this done on behalf of the American people against anyone.
How is President Biden ever going to convince the 3/4 of voters who are worried about his physical and mental health that he is okay, even though in Las Vegas he told a story about recently talking to a French president who died in 1996?
I'm not even going to go down that rabbit hole with you,
Why?
sir. Comments were made in that report about that, obviously, about his memory that we don't believe lives in reality. I think you all have called this the cheap fakes video, and that's exactly what they are. They are cheap fakes video. They are done in bad faith, and some of your news organization have been very clear, have stressed that these right-wing critics of the president have a credibility problem. I think there is so much misinformation, disinformation, as we've been talking about. You talked about the video of the president wandering, and it's not true, right? The president wasn't wandering. And so we believe we have to call that out. We've been calling it cheap fakes. That is something that came directly from the media outlets.
Is anyone in the White House hiding information about the president's health or his ability to do the job day to day?
Absolutely not. What we have released has been very comprehensive. It has been. It has been transparent. With age comes wisdom and comes experience. And I think that matters as well. He is as sharp as ever, as I have known him to be in my engagement, in my experience with him. And I know when I walk into the Oval Office or see him on Air Force One, I have to be on top of my game.
So who ordered White House officials to cover up a declining president?
I know that that is a narrative that you love. And wait, hold on. First of all, there's been no cover-up. I want to be very clear about that.
We're going to see Karine Jean-Pierre on a book tour. I also want to see her take an oath and sit down before James Comer's committee, the Oversight Committee, as one of the practitioners of one of the worst frauds and gaslighting of the American people in United States history. I cannot wait for Karine Jean-Pierre, of all people, to tell us about things from inside her book about misinformation. If there's anybody who knows about it as an art and a science, it's Karine Jean-Pierre. Hey, let's go to a youngster, but already the seasoned professional on the beat. Over there at the Washington Examiner investigations editor, Sarah Bedford is here. Hey, Sarah, always a pleasure to see you. How you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
I want to talk about a couple of things you've written in the last couple of weeks, but first, just real quick, over there in Examiner land, journalism land, DC land, what's the buzz like in the last 24 hours as Elon throws all kinds of water on the big, beautiful bill? What are folks in your orbit saying?
I think it was at first a lot of whiplash and then, some head scratching. Republicans are so close to the finish line, and Elon Musk seems kind of determined to ensure it's as big a disaster as he can possibly make it. So a little bit of confusion as to what Elon Musk might be trying to do here.
Sarah is a great Twitter follow. It's Sarah C. Bedford, and the things that she writes in the Examiner involve some large overview theoretical things that I think are great. I want to see if we have room to tackle like two in a couple of minutes. You had a great piece just a few days ago, how immigration, housing, and red tape hurt America's fertility rate. President Trump called himself the fertilization president, which is a great business card. And we talk about population declines, and people are worried about that. What did you mean by that premise?
Well, I think there are a couple different policy dynamics that aren't typically part of the conversation about birth rates, but that probably ought to be. And illegal immigration is a big one of those, because when you have an influx of people competing for housing, especially on the lower end of the housing market, you're crowding out American families from the market. You're raising prices not just on the lower end, but that ends up sort of filtering up all the way to the high end of the real estate market. And so especially in these places where you have a really high number of illegal immigrants, you're having the American dream sort of being moved further and further out of the reach of American families. And then a lot of regulations that Democrats have pushed as well make the cost of living go up, make the cost of housing in particular go up, and again, make this dream of having a white picket fence and 2.5 kids something that American families are finding harder and harder to achieve.
What do you think is the source? Because I hear this a lot. I've heard it a lot just in the last few months. It's funny because when I grew up, everybody was about population explosion, and a lot of that was total nonsense. Fly over large portions of America that have zero population. We do not have a population crisis, but we may have an underpopulation crisis, according to some. We're not making enough babies, say a lot of people. Are they right?
Yeah, I mean, the population has declined precipitously since the 1970s, and just in the past few years, now the average American woman at my age or younger can expect to have 1.6 children, which is below replacement levels. So there is going to be a sharp decline in population in the decades ahead if something isn't done. It's more than just policies, though. It's also cultural, the cultural expectations about when men and women get married, when women have their children. They're increasingly waiting until later in their life to have their first baby, which means they end up going on to have fewer of them. And so I think the Trump administration has been toying around with some ideas to try to reverse this, including even just subsidies, cash subsidies for having babies. But, you know, Democrats always try to portray Republicans as being like weird for focused on talking about family and fertility, but it's hugely important for economic stability.
Indeed. Just about a minute for this, but speaking of immigration, you had a great piece a couple of weeks ago. Not all refugees look and are treated alike. Fleeing persecution, your headline says. South African arrivals scramble refugee politics. I think they've kind of been forgotten. For a while there, people were crazy. Oh my gosh, white refugees. What's the bottom line lesson of the arrival of the South African refugees?
Well, they'll be forgotten until the next plane gets here, right? The Trump administration has said they have no intention of stopping to bring the Afrikaners over here. But I think the bottom line of why this has been such a controversy is that the Democrats have a pretty limited, narrow view of refugee politics, of really everything that boils down to a sort of oppressed people's viewpoint. And because the Afrikaners, who is evidence that they are in fact being persecuted in South Africa, because they are white, it doesn't fit into this narrow worldview. It's a really complicated situation. But the Democrats have employed, frankly, misinformation in dismissing Donald Trump's helping of the Afrikaners just because of the color of their skin, which there's a little bit of hypocrisy in that.
Sarah Bedford, Washington Examiner. Always great to talk to you when I'm here and great to hear you when Hugh is here. Thanks so much, Sarah. Appreciate your time. Yeah, once again, that mindset again, the oppressed and the oppressor, and a lot of it is racial. There was South Africa, but in the Middle East, why are the Israelis presumed to be the oppressors? Because they're white. Why are the Palestinians presumed to be oppressed? Because they're not. The boys of Tears for Fears. Everybody wants to rule the world. I guess that's self-evidently true, especially rogue judges. Oh, my. The reason for that there, everybody wants to rule the world, Tears for Fears, #1 record.
Careful.
40 years ago today. Why do I need to be careful? What's the problem, Dwayne?
It just makes it's one of my favorite songs of all time, and you just aged me.
This is what I do.
Yeah.
This is what I do. Elton John's Captain Fantastic. I'm graduating from high school when this record comes out. It's a half century ago.
I know.
Oh, what are we going to do? What? Oh, hey, but Dwayne, listen, I got the T-shirt. Old guys rule. Old guys rule, my friend. So own it. Be happy with it. Hey, let me give you something that you should own, and that is gold. Let's go to our friends at AmFed. AmFed Coin and Bullion. Lots of good reasons to buy gold and silver these days. You got your occasional bank failure, digital currency volatility. That's why AmFed Coin and Bullion is a superb choice for precious metals. If you ask AmFed owner Nick Grovich, simplify the case for precious metals. Here's how it goes. When President Roosevelt recalled the gold in circulation and paid people with paper money, they got a $20 bill for a $20 gold piece. Today, $20 bill, how much gas can you get for that? Meanwhile, the gold piece worth around $3,400. Which would you rather own? AmFed Coin and Bullion. Nick's been in this industry over 44 years, and he's proud of providing transparency and fair pricing to build trusted relationships. So if you're interested in buying or selling, call Nick and his team at AmFed Coin and Bullion, and that's 1-800-221-7694. That's 1-800-221-7694. AmericanFederal.com. AmericanFederal.com. Our friends at AmFed Coin and Bullion. All right. My friend Dwayne has set us up, as he always does, with so much great audio. I want to go to Russ Vought. Scott Bessent, just the financial stuff, Russ Vought, Scott Bessent, but the messaging of this administration, obviously Caroline Leavitt, especially just after having taken us back into the nightmare of Karine Jean-Pierre. Caroline Leavitt's awesome. Marco Rubio, Vice President Vance, the messaging coming out of this administration, I guess they're certainly got their task ahead of them in the coming days. But on a couple of things economically, this is Russ Vought on Fox with Will Cain. The point here is if everybody just lets the game come to them, we'll be able to address some of those concerns that Elon and others have.
What I think what everyone needs to understand about how we've constructed the strategy to make the DOGE cuts permanent is that different funding amounts are different under the law. And so some things are multi-year, some things are funds that expire at the end of the fiscal year. And in this particular amount, it's very important that it pass. And as we gauge the congressional appetite to lock these into law, we have chosen what we think are the easiest: Corporation for Public Broadcasting, NPR, the foreign aid, some of the worst examples that you can come up with. Send those to the Hill, and our conversations with the Hill have been very good in terms of the House going to be putting this on the floor next week. But this needs to not only get through the House and the Senate. If it doesn't pass, we have to then release the funds, and it has to be spent. And so there are consequences for congressional failure, and we want to gauge that because, Will, we have other tools that are at our disposal, pocket rescissions, using the tools at the end of the fiscal year so that without Congress, the funding will lapse. And even impoundment, which is also a possibility as well, where we are dusting off muscle memory that existed for 200 years before President Nixon in the 1970s, and Congress acted to try to take away the president's ability to spend less than their ceiling that they would provide in an appropriation. So we are intending to be strategic, work with Congress, see what they're willing to do, and if they pass us, we'll send up many more.
There you go. I know it's challenging to ask for patience, especially in this day and age when we've been denied things like fiscal sanity for a long, long time. It's Trump. He tends to deliver. Wouldn't you say his track record on delivering is pretty straight up? So there at the Office of Management and Budget, the great Russ Vaught telling Elon, Rand Paul, Thomas Massey, maybe you, and maybe me on some days, just sit tight, let the game come to us. We got some time here. But here's the thing. We're not going to have that kind of time. If we mess this up, if the big, beautiful bill fails, if it crashes and burns, and we get creamed in the midterms, you going to be happy then? Are you going to be happy then? Today's Democrat Party won't be happy until they have found themselves on the virulently wrong side of virtually every issue. It has been a red letter 24 hours for Hakeem Jeffries, the House Minority Leader, Democrat out of New York. Earlier today, he and Chuck Schumer, in lockstep, reading the same index card, said, circle this day in the calendar. Elon, I'm in agreement with Elon. Well, no, they're not. Elon was savaging the big, beautiful bill because it wasn't conservative enough. They hate the big, beautiful bill because it actually contains some conservatism. But this was Hakeem's other moment. Get a load of what he wants to do. What does an ICE agent do? ICE agent is American law enforcement working hard, putting their lives on the line in order to keep America safe. And this is the treatment you get from today's Democrat Party?
Every single ICE agent who's engaged in this aggressive overreach and are trying to hide their identities from the American people will be unsuccessful in doing that. This is America. This is not the Soviet Union. We're not behind the Iron Curtain. This is not the 1930s. And every single one of them, no matter what it takes, no matter how long it takes, will, of course, be identified.
Really? Really? Is this today's Democrat Party? And it decidedly is. The doxing of ICE agents. This is your party. Maybe this is why Karine Jean-Pierre said, this is too spicy even for me. Anyway, many times you'll find somebody saying something like liberalism is a mental illness. Okay, cute. I think it's a little glib. Often seems true. But there's an observation I want to make that a couple of people have made, and I'll try to do it justice. And that is that even if you kind of have a brainstem, if you've walked around for years saying the border is secure, inflation is not real, Biden's doing just fine, and there are 43 genders, it will drive you crazy. It will make you insane. Mark Davis filling in, as it's been a pleasure to do frequently, and as we will do again together next Wednesday. I'm the Wednesday guy. Ed Morrissey tomorrow. Dwayne Generalissimo fills in on Friday. It's always great when he gets his talk show yah-yahs out and lets fly with all kinds of things that are in his very talented brain. So looking forward to that. And everybody, and of course to Hugh's eventual return week after next. The rest of us are going to keep the fort functional, one hopes, while Hugh is gone. Also, while he's gone, there's something I want to do for my friend Hugh Hewitt, but ultimately it's something I want to do. I'm really doing it for you, enabling you to reach deep into your heart and do something kind. Have you heard that old adage that nothing makes you feel better? You know, you always, well, I'll feel better if people do stuff for me. I'll feel better if I'm the recipient of certain, kind. Yeah, what really makes you feel better is doing things for others. We are called to do things for others. And here is our magnificent thing of the moment. It's the Angel Tree Campaign. Angel Tree Camp. You know what camp is. It's summertime. It's camp. It's riding horses. It's playing games and doing wonderful things, getting some fresh air and sunshine. It's good for every kid. It's really good if it's an inner city kid steeped in gangs and drugs, and maybe dad or even mom or maybe both are in prison. The Angel Tree Campaign takes these kids and sends them for a week of camp where it's not just sunshine and horses and, playing ball. It's Christ-like. It's a Christian fellowship that these kids desperately need. The Bible is involved here, and you can help. You can help transform kids' lives. Listen to these incredible words from Prison Fellowship's David Moy.
I gave my life to Christ when I was a teenager at a Christian camp, so I personally know the power of what God can do at camp. I mean, you can only do three things with your money. You can spend it, you can save it, or you can give it. And I think giving it to an Angel Tree camping scholarship is going to be the best week of somebody's year. It's going to be a break from chaos that they wouldn't otherwise have. And that's money well given, money well spent.
Maybe not just the best week of somebody's year, but maybe a best and pivotal week in a kid's life. Listen, we're all grown up, so we all talk about how important childhood. I had a fantastic childhood. It helped me, I hope, be a good adult. I know some people that had some crappy childhoods, wound up being good adults anyway. Good for them. Something good happened in their lives. A lot of times a troubled childhood can send you down a bad path for adulthood. So what we're going to do is send kids to camp and maybe turn them around. Turn them around with this Angel Tree campaign. Here's what you do. Go to HughHewitt.com, click on the Angel Tree banner. $200 sends one kid to camp for the entire week. Just $200. If you got $20, 10 people just sent somebody to camp. You got $1,000, 5 kids. Phone number is 888-206-2764. Let's finish strong, okay? 888-206-2764. HughHewitt.com. Click on the Angel Tree banner. Let's have a banner day in this campaign. Thank you so much. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Dwayne. Thank you, Harley. Thank you, Hugh. Thank you, listeners and viewers on the Salem News Channel. See you next Wednesday. Mark Davis in for Hugh Hewitt.